Welcome to Mega Wellness Summit. I'm your host, Nikki Jencen. Today we're discussing the topic of our environment and how water affects our entire lives. Water is essential to life. Without it, we perish. Nowadays, it can be confusing what forms of water we should be consuming. Is it safe to drink tap water? Should we filter our water? I'm also intrigued by alkaline water as well. That's why I brought on our hydration expert, Patrick Durkin. He's a master of change and flow. As a financial advisor, he became a millionaire at age 31. But unfortunately, financial success did not bring Patrick fulfillment. Consequently, Patrick left the corporate world to help humanity in a bigger way. In 2008, Patrick began an odyssey to understand water, create better hydration solutions, and offer an alternative to plastic water bottles and the unnecessary waste they produce. To this end, Patrick has founded the Wellness Enterprise and is the creator of Water Magic, which teaches people about health, hydration, and spiritual fulfillment. Welcome, Patrick Durkin. Thank you so much for being part of Mega Wellness Summit. This is amazing to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me, Nikki. It's always a pleasure to talk about water and to do so in the context of wellness. And with you, I feel truly honored. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I had no idea, I'm going to be honest with you, that structured water really existed. I heard about alkaline water. I've heard about filtered water, spring water. And, water can be kind of a bit confusing nowadays. Can you tell us the differences between each type of water and, why some might be bad or good or whatever your feeling is on that?
I'd be happy to. And I want to share before I answer that just like you, I had no idea that structured water existed. And when I first learned about it, I was repelled away from it for about 6 months. And the reason I was repelled away from it is it makes all of these promises of being completely different. And I'm a businessman, and the business model of selling structured water devices is a horrible one. And what I mean by that is when I sell somebody a device, when they choose to purchase one from us, they solve their problem for life with no replacement parts or maintenance needed. So there's no recurring revenue. And if you're in business to make money, that's not a good thing. So, I saw the promises of structured water, and the first one was that the most important property of water is energy. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't understand that. I thought it was the toxins I'm supposed to worry about. I thought it was the mineral content of the water. I thought it was whether it was filtered or not. And what I came to understand was at the time that I discovered structured water, I was representing 5 different water technologies, and all of them were dealing with the chemistry of water, telling people that toxins and the removal of toxins is the important thing. So I was giving public talks on that. And here comes this structured water device that is utterly simple. It is about the size and shape of a 12-ounce, 14-ounce bottle. Mm-hmm. And for the portable device, we have other devices that are bigger, and we can get into that later if appropriate. But it's very simple, and the device itself is a shape, and that's what gives it its power. What I mean is we're recognizing the power that is in water, and we let the water flow over special spheres that are patterned with sacred geometry and cause the water to spin in a double vortex. So to say that another way, the device itself is simply a shape. And that means if you turned on a faucet and started running it through it, you could leave the faucet on forever and the device would never wear out, because it's in the pattern that the water receives the resonance, the vibration of creation, the energy of nature. And that energy is revitalized in that water. So how that would impact a person who's considering different waters and has many choices and confusing voices to listen to out there is we've done tests where we took people who never drank structured water, we gave them 12 ounces of water, and had them drink it, and we measured the energy field of their body using gas discharge visualization before and after. And what we saw was a minimum increase of 10% more energy in people's bodies just from drinking one glass of structured water. So when I started to see proof like that, I started to understand that this structured water was something I really needed to pay attention to. Mm-hmm. And of course, it continued on and on from there. I began gardening with structured water and grew produce so prolifically that I opened up a farm stand on the side of my yard to sell the excess produce. Yeah, my family couldn't keep up with eating what the garden was producing. And so, you know, when you have a new idea and you start living into it day after day and just becoming aware of what's there, I felt more energy. I saw the produce in the garden. I witnessed the emotional steadiness in my kids as they consumed the water and bathed in the water, and we ate vegetables with the water. They became more aware that the quality of the water in their body and how much of it they had a lot to do with how they were feeling on a daily basis, rather than the things people normally think make the biggest difference. Like simple hydration would be attributable for most emotional feelings and sense of energy. So as I witnessed all of these things, I was at the time selling alkaline water devices, one of the areas of interest for you. And, you know, it's an area of interest for a lot of people. We hear great things, and I'd like to give a brief synopsis so people can understand alkaline water. Alkaline water is an out-of-balance water that is caused to be out of balance by putting electric current into the water. It's electrocuting the water. And in so doing, it changes the pH and the antioxidant potential of the water, which seems really good. I drank alkaline water for 2 years, and I witnessed not only reading the stuff that's on the internet, that there are both, you know, people saying alkaline water is great and people saying that it's a hoax, and I read all of it. But I also witnessed people in my own life having health changes from drinking the alkaline water. So I came to think it was pretty good, and I was drinking it myself. When I got to structured water, I wasn't looking for something new or different. But once I found the structured water, I became less attached to the alkaline water being good. And when I was less attached, I started to attract more information about this out-of-balance nature of alkaline water. And alkaline water, because it's so out of balance, I like to think of it as, I call it the acid-alkaline seesaw. And what I'm talking about is I was really acidic. So picture me on one side of the seesaw kind of sitting down at ground zero, really acidic, and the alkaline side was high and dry up in the air. And I put the alkaline water on there, and it brought me back up to neutral, which was fantastic, made a real difference in my health. But then as I was sitting at neutral, I got to thinking, if this thing brought my seesaw up to neutral when I put it on the high side, what's it going to do while I'm sitting here at neutral? Mm-hmm. And that's when I had the privilege of interviewing a nutritionist who does live blood analysis. And we hit it off, and so we started doing some testing together. And we analyzed people's blood under a microscope, showing them their blood cells before drinking structured water and after. And while we were doing that, she educated me on the potential harm of playing on this seesaw, this acid-alkaline seesaw, versus trusting it to nature. And that's when we got the results of testing people's live blood, and it showed amazing vitality in people's cellular function by switching to structured water. In fact, Jerry said something, I'm quoting her, it's not her exact words, but I think I'll paraphrase her completely accurately. As a nutritionist, looking at live blood for more than 10 years, structured water was more impactful in 48 hours than the most effective nutritional therapies she'd ever seen in 30 days.
Wow.
So structured water is just all over the place showing me this evidence that it's effective, that it alleviates people's concerns, and that people feel vibrant and joyful drinking structured water.
You gave me a device about a month and a half ago, a portable device. And so, I had done very little research on structured water prior to talking to you. And so you sent out the device, and I started using it right away. And what I felt, what was happening is, this is bizarre, and I know that this is going to sound very weird to people, but I was craving the water. I felt like I was dehydrated before in a different way. I'm using spring water. Spring is supposed to be the most energetic, best water out there for you, even over alkaline water and, purified water because of the energy source. So I was really using both of them. And so what was happening was I'm still staying up till like 2 o'clock in the morning because, hey, I work a lot. And so, but what's happening is I don't feel tired. And I felt like the device was almost speaking to me. I missed it. Okay, so I went to Las Vegas for a weekend. And I left the device with my parents because I wanted my mother to try it. And so all the way to Vegas, I was sort of having detachment anxiety where I'm going, what am I going to do without my portable water device that I'm not going to be able to have, structured water? And that's only about not even a month using it. But right away I felt like I got attached to it. So I don't know. There's just something very odd. It's such a simple device that it's almost like mind-boggling that it's working this well.
So the first time I learned about this, I called the inventor and I asked him questions for like an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And I literally had a list of 50 questions when I called him, and I joked that I had whittled that down from 1,000. And he very patiently answered them, and it took me more than a year to allow the simple truth of the answers to come in and really, like, we can have a mental identification with an idea, but that's nowhere near the same as knowing in ourselves that it's true.
Right.
And so there are a lot of things to address in what you just said. One of them is studies show that 94% of us are dehydrated. That's lab testing on 40,000 people over 7 years measuring their cells. Anecdotally, I've been observing people's hydration habits everywhere I go. I look at every single person that I speak to all the time to assess whether they appear hydrated to me or not. And I would say it's not 94%. It's 99.7% of people are dehydrated. Like, everybody. And the thing is, because people don't know what hydration feels like or how good it feels,
right?
They have an experience like you're describing, that now that you're feeling the energy of it, now you know what you were missing before.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Right?
It's the craziest thing. Yeah, it really is. I can't verbalize it. I really can't.
Well,
it's just something you have to experience.
Yeah. That not being able to verbalize it, that's why I spent 24/7 for several years studying this and talking to people about it. And this is where I want to take it to a level that I don't think you'll hear anywhere else. I want to speak now, Nikki, to the experience you had of missing it and feeling a detachment anxiety and feeling like the device is talking to you.
Okay.
So people may have heard the concept that our inner world and outer worlds are reflective of one another, and I know that that is true. So how I feel inside, if I feel great, that reflects itself in my outer world. But there's a time delay, right? What we feel inside doesn't manifest instantly. I noticed through working with feng shui in my own house that when I clean up a mess and deal with a room and get it to be more aligned, that there tends to be about a 4 or 6 week delay in my outward manifestation. So an example would be my hot water heater sprung a leak. and that caused a flood on the basement floor, which caused a massive cleanup project, and finding some rather unsightly things that I didn't really notice when I was in the hectic stage of moving in. Because that happened, I had to resolve all of the cleanup in that area of my house, and a lot of things that weren't serving me left the house. And 6 weeks later, I booked my first telesummit speaking engagement. And I've seen so many things like that connecting the inner world energies and the outer world energies. So now, your experience, the outer world manifestation of how water matters to us is that water is a living being. And I know not a lot of people understand that yet. One of the places they can go for validation around that is by looking up the work of Dr. Emoto. That's E-M-O-T-O for anybody that's not familiar with him. And what he showed is the impact of sound, of words, of thoughts, of emotions on water. And one of the things that we do when people buy a structured water device from us is we offer a bonus of Dr. Emoto's book, The Hidden Messages in Water, because we want people to immerse themselves in this structured water. We want them to know how important it is. It's not just about them getting the device. It's about changing the way they relate to water. So this is going to support people to understand this idea. They may be hearing it for the very first time from me, my lips right now, that water is a living being. But there's lots of proof of that out there. And as we open up the proof, you can start to understand why it would matter that there's an outer world experience of water, not just an inner world experience. So the inner world experience is hydration. Get water into your cells. We all know about that. But we don't tend to want to do it. Like, people don't tend to want to drink water, and that's because the energy of tap water and bottled water is dead. It's virtually dead. We can use a GDV meter and measure the vitality of water that either runs through a tap or is bottled, and it's virtually dead. The structured water can take either tap water or bottled water and transform it into water that's alive. And what happens when this water is alive and carrying the resonance of creation is that it's like opening up a channel to the external world, the unseen external world. It's giving us full access to those parts of ourselves that we can't necessarily see or hear. A way that we might assist people to understand this concept is think about how you feel if you go into nature and you experience nature for an hour. Like, go for a walk in the woods. How do you feel when you're coming out of there? I usually feel more uplifted, more open, my breathing's better, and my mind, my thoughts are flowing differently. Like, I'm tapped in to my creativity. And that's what happens. And so what you experience, Nikki, in just those few short weeks is you start opening up this channel to all that is, to this unified field that connects us, and then you loan your device to your parents and you don't have that anymore. You're going to notice it just like you notice the difference between being hydrated in the body and not. I went to a conference about a year ago, and I met this person in person for the first time. We'd known each other online for about a year. And as we were leaving, she said, "Well, Patrick, it was really nice to meet you and your wife, Water." And I kind of burst out laughing, and like, she really got it. Like, I hang out with water these days. It really is like water is my wife, and I understand that this is completely unusual and unknown for people, and so that's why I created the Water Magic course, because what really supports this is immersion in structured water, right? Some people buy a device and they say, you know, I've read the what people are saying section of your website, and I hear all these amazing things. Like, people write to us and they say, my hair that's been gray for a really long time has turned back to its normal color. My fingernails are growing differently. Of course, my skin feels softer and my hair feels thicker, but how about somebody who writes in and says, since I was a very young child, I've always had to get thicker and thicker glasses, meaning I had a worse and worse prescription. And not long after I started drinking structured water, I knew I needed an adjustment, and I went back to the eye doctor. And for the first time in my entire life, my first time in this human body, my eyes got better. Right? So we have all those type of things coming. So somebody will say, I read that, and it hasn't happened for me. Why not? And I'll ask them about their habits around water. And what I'm looking for when I ask the questions is, are they receptive to and taking the suggestions of immersion in water rather than just thinking of it as drinking water? And what immersion means is whether you buy the portable device or the shower, the sink, the garden, or the whole house, that whichever ones you choose for your budget and, values and beliefs and lifestyle and, all of that, that you use the water from the devices that you have to immerse yourself. So that means always having a full container to drink from. That means bathing in the water. And if you don't have a shower device or something, a whole house device, bringing structured water out of the pipe into your tub, then you simply take your portable device into the tub before you get in, and you pass some water through the device. And you don't have to do the whole 40 gallons or so that's in a tub. You just have to do part of it, and it will spread. The harmonious energy will spread. But you also can garden with it. So if you have any potted plants, you can. Some people take their hose right out in the garden and pour it through their portable if they don't have a garden device. So, the garden device makes it easier. But the point is, no matter which you have, to spread the energy of this water everywhere. And when you start to do that, that channel that I just spoke of that connects us to all that is, it opens up. Creativity opens. Your sense of connection, feelings of oneness open. For some people, the third eye opens. I happen to be one of those people. I didn't even know what a third eye was 3 years ago, and now it's like having another sense that gives me a broader perspective on life. So water magic supports this immersion by giving people not only the strategies and the tools and the tips to do in their physical life what they need to do to get the water as many places as possible, but also the information and the science and the background of the industry as a whole, so people can understand it and they can justify it to themselves, because they sometimes need something to be able to be open to something this simple being this effective.
You mentioned you have a watering device. What other devices do you have?
Sure. So the portable is the most popular, and for obvious reason, it's the least expensive and the most versatile. So no matter what you're doing, you can take your portable with you, whether you're at home or on the road, it doesn't really matter, and you hold it up to a faucet and pour the water through. It pours through very quickly. You can structure lots of water very easily. And regardless of which other devices people get, they usually get the portable also, because once you get used to having structured water at home, you're not going to want to go on the road and not have it. You'll have the experience like you had of detachment anxiety with water. We don't want that.
Right.
So the other devices are a shower device that is very simple to install. Anybody can do it themselves. The under sink device, and then the whole house one is installed by a plumber. And if you install the whole house one, you don't need the shower or sink devices, because all the water in your property goes through one pipe, and you install the device on the part of the pipe where that is. So then when you turn on your faucet, you're bringing out structured water. Same thing with your shower, same thing with your garden. Takes care of everything at once. And we also have garden devices and commercial devices for bigger farming operations. So we have, all the different ones, and with all of them, we include the book and the water magic bonus, and make it really attractive for people to pick up these long-lasting devices and enjoy them forever with a lifetime warranty.
Yeah, and you really support people because you have, once I joined your world, then you have calls and you have so much information out there connecting people with the water. And it really is great because people can ask questions. It's just wonderful, the community that you're building around water.
Well, it's what I'm supposed to do. If I was supposed to be a financial advisor still, then I would be. But it didn't scale to that which matters and is fulfilling. So, the surge in passion that I feel through my body when I have the opportunity to practice this vocation, to be the conduit for all of this information, it just completely illuminates me and gives me joy. So no matter where people are, whether they're considering a carbon filter and they don't know why, there might be a different possibility, or considering alkaline water, want advice on a whole house system, it doesn't really matter. I've examined all of it. I think, sometimes if we know people's motivation, it helps us to understand them more. Mm-hmm. And what happened in my last 2 years of being a financial advisor is I was the head of the recycling committee in my town. And I wanted to start a program to put hydration stations, like water filters, available all over town so that people could carry reusable containers and not have to use plastic. Mm-hmm. And my allegiance to the solution is about what serves humanity and the earth at the highest level. And so if there were a better solution than structured water, I would simply release this one and move to the next. But what I see about this one is people buy one time, and it lasts forever. The devices are extremely durable, so it's fantastic for the earth. And then they feel more energy in their bodies and have greater access to health and vitality and connection to all that is. What more could I ask for in a solution? I think it's amazing. So this is what I spend my time talking about. And whenever anybody that's listening to this contacts my company through my website, most often you'll hear from me. And if you don't, know that you'll be receiving the same love and care that you do when you're speaking to me.
So this is what also drew me to you, is that you can have this device, and it does get rid of inorganic compounds, including pesticides, bacteria, nitrates, free radicals, heavy metals, and it changes the pH levels, correct?
Yeah. Well, I'd just like to clarify that, Nikki. So get rid of is language that we would use as part of the old paradigm of a water filter, which is trying to tell us that we need to take something away. There's a lot of marketing and a lot of industries that exist out there that cause us to be fearful of something out there. So there's a pretty palpable fear about toxins. Mm-hmm. And every toxin, chlorine, fluoride, all of them, are each a frequency. There's a mathematical understanding underlying everything in our world. It's all energy, including these things that we've been educated to fear. Now, when we take the perspective of removing, getting rid of, pushing away, we can't simultaneously have the perspective of oneness. Those choices to get rid of, push away, those reinforce separation. And the truth is that all the energy in the world came from the same place, wherever you think that is, and it was created, and it's all here to assist us in remembering just how amazing we are. And so these toxins that are serving as a hurdle right now cause people to be fearful. And if we engage in the discussion from removal and fearful, we will never get to a solution. So what happens in a structured water device is the oxygen and the hydrogen in tap water are bonded, and the angle of the bond has been measured at approximately 104.5 degrees. That's what it is most frequently. When we structure the device, we transmute. We completely change. It's like an alchemical shift. It's like going from lead to gold. That's what the alchemists wanted to do, right? We shift from this water with a hydrogen bond angle of 104.5 degrees to water that has a hydrogen bond angle of 114.5 degrees or more. And this completely shifts the physical properties of the water. So structured water feels softer and wetter to people. That's because the surface tension is one of the measurable aspects that changes and has been validated by science, as structured water is softer than regular water, tap or bottled water. What we want to do is we want to understand that simply pouring water through sacred geometry and in a double vortex spin give it the resonance of creation. And when it has the resonance of creation, it's a little bit like that walk in the woods. It's that uplifting, really clean, wonderful energy. From that place, nature can handle the frequencies called toxins. It's quite possible to have a frequency that brings discord, something that we don't want around us, and to get another frequency present that makes the first one go away. So an example would be if you think about flying on an airplane and the loud noise of the jet engine, and then somebody who puts on noise cancellation technology. I was on a conference call earlier today, and the person had just gotten a noise cancellation headset. And she said, I think this thing might be too effective. I feel like I'm underwater. And I laughed and I said, that doesn't sound all bad, being the water guy and all. And so noise canceling technology demonstrates that the frequency of the sound inside those headphones cancels out noises that are outside. In the same way, the harmonious frequency of structured water cancels out the frequencies of toxins. So they are not removed, they are neutralized, and we have lots of great science that's documented to back that up.
If somebody has a water softening system in their home, does that damage the device at all? And how is that? Because it's not very good to drink softened water.
Yes. The general question here is that people have an existing paradigm. And in the existing paradigm, they might have a filter, they might have alkaline water, they might have a softener, any kind of technology. And they all want to know the answer to the same question, so we'll answer it a little bit more broadly. They want to know, do I need this anymore? And if I choose to keep it, will it work harmoniously with the structured water device? So the first part of the answer is that a structured water device is virtually indestructible. If you do not abuse your device, it will last for generations. There's nothing about it that's built to crumble or break. In a world where everything is built to crumble and break, or at least many, many things are, these things are built to just allow lots and lots and lots of water to pass through them. So if you put it before a softener or after a softener, it doesn't matter. And the structured water device will play harmoniously with whatever existing technology you have, and there'll be no degradation to the structuring just because you have some sort of other system. Then the other part of the question is, what do they do with their existing technology? Do they uninstall it? And the answer that I prefer is, whenever possible, do a bypass. When you install a whole house device, if you can do it such that you can bypass the softener, which is something a plumber can easily do for you, then you can choose with the structured water device whether you want to use both or you just want to use the structuring. The general experience is, particularly with the whole house devices, which will illuminate your entire home, is that once they're installed for a while, like more than 30 days, sometimes 60, it can be 90, the old energy of the water that was there previously gradually each day will be alleviated, and the new energy, the harmonious energy of structured water, will fill all of your pipes and all of your systems. So if you look at, for example, a hot water heater, what causes death or decay in a hot water heater is the buildup of minerals that are deposited as water pours through the hot water heater. Well, in a structuring device, those minerals are held in suspension as it goes through the hot water heater. And so there's no need to worry about your hot water heater anymore. It's going to last longer, as will all of your appliances. So a lot of people might find, getting back now directly to your question, they might find that their softener is no longer necessary because the minerals are being held in suspension. So if they can bypass it for 30 or 60 days and see the effect of the structured water by themselves, they may find that they can give up a lifetime of the expense of buying bags of salt and the trouble of hauling them in and pouring them into some sort of container. So a lot of people do give up other technologies, and generally that's just a great thing to do.
Is there a difference in taste?
There is often a difference in taste. So first thing to note about taste is that we have practically an unlimited number of sources of water on this planet. So there's lots of different experiences about what water tastes like, and then everybody's taste buds are different. So the first thing is, if you take anybody and you change the water that they're drinking, they're going to notice a different taste, and most people's reaction to change is to resist that and to think, this tastes different, therefore it's not as good as what I had before. Mm-hmm. So what I suggest to people who have taste issues that show up when they have the structuring devices is experience the taste for 30 days. And if it doesn't resolve itself, then I have some tips and tricks for dealing with that. So we know that we're unlikely to need a softener anymore for the softening purpose because the structured water device will do it in most cases. We know that we're unlikely to need a traditional filter for removing toxins anymore because the toxins are transmuted, they're shifted and neutralized energetically. But there's one case where a traditional filter can be useful, and that's where after 30 days of structuring, after you've given time for immersion and you've really let the water spread throughout your whole house, if you're not enjoying the taste as much as you think you could, you can get a very inexpensive carbon water filter. We have some recommendations on our website for those that are interested. And you can use that simply to filter out, they call it CTO, chlorine, taste, and odor. And that will kind of provide a polish or a finish on taste. My experience is that about 50% of our customers, as soon as they taste structured water for the first time, they say, this is amazing. I'm thrilled with this. I'm really, really happy. About 45% of people don't say anything. And about 5% of people have an issue where they call me up inside of that initial time period, and I suggest the 30 days first. And I think people generally don't report back to me if they end up buying a traditional filter too, but I would say there's some number less than 5% of our customers that do purchase a traditional filter to improve taste. And it just has to do with your water source and your palate. So there's nothing wrong with doing that, but for the vast majority of us, there's no need.
And what if we have somebody who's listening who travels a lot, and they're going to, let's say, Mexico, different countries, where you're not really supposed to drink the water because you'll get sick? What do you have to say about that?
There's a concept that I teach called the ABCs of water filtration. And each letter, A, B, C, D, and E, is a different type of contaminant. And the question that you're asking about is about B contaminants. These are called biologics. They are viruses, bacteria, and pathogens. As a comparison, they're not industrial chemicals. They're not agricultural waste. They're not from heavy metals, right? So they are biology that's alive. The problem with this biology that's alive when it's in water is that it can kill people. Right? Before we started chlorinating water, people died from dysentery, which is like 100 years ago, 107 years ago, we started chlorinating water. And so there is a legitimate reason to chlorinate water. And so if you have water that's not chlorinated, situation like Mexico or sometimes India and various countries like that, we have plenty of reports about people who have simply used our structuring technology and they've had no impact from the viruses and bacteria and pathogens. And then I've had one report of somebody who did get something in her stomach. And as far as I'm concerned, one report is too much for that type of thing. So my advice is, first of all, you can begin to develop a muscle for communicating directly with water yourself. You don't need an expert or anybody to translate for you. And you can simply ask the question, is it safe for me to drink this water? And listen to the first answer that comes. It comes faster than we think, and it's right there. And if no answer comes for you and you want to know what to do, I would, if I was unsure, boil the water or carry chlorine tablets and make sure that I eliminated the threat of the biological material because of how quickly that can bring harm to somebody. But again, there are lots of people who have consumed water in that way and have had no impact from it.
That sounds awesome. So I can't say enough about the system because I've had a very positive experience with it so far. And I heard that you have something very special for our Mega Wellness Summit listeners.
Well, I do. It's the gift of immersion, right? We have the gift of supporting people with 4 different things that are going to help them with this offer. We're going to give them our Water Magic course to support them with understanding, because it does take a while to really feel this on the inside, not just to hear it intellectually. And then we're going to give them the hidden messages in water. And we're also going to include a stainless steel water bottle with each order so that they can quite simply, right from the get-go, start filling up a container and taking it with them. And then we also have free worldwide shipping. And that means everywhere in the world. It costs an arm and a leg, but we promise free shipping everywhere in the world. And so we have all of those great bonuses, and then we also have a very special price. And these devices are not usually discounted, and the discount is going to be available on the sales page for a very short time. And so I invite people to take a look at our offer and look at the prices. I guarantee that we have the best prices, and I literally do guarantee that. We have a best price guarantee. Mm-hmm. So we have the best prices, plus we have all the other bonuses. So I think that your audience will be thrilled, Nikki.
And I will have a link directing people to go ahead and get their device with your special price. And I'm so grateful that you're giving this to people. This is really, truly amazing because you're giving people the gift of health. I mean, water is the foundation of our health. And you're saying, here, go ahead. It's risk-free, and I'm going to support you in this journey, which you have with me. So for you to give this to our listeners, I'm just elated. And I know that they're going to be super ecstatic when they receive their gift in the mail.
It is my pleasure, and I've heard that one of the things that differentiates me from a lot of the other speakers in this industry is that I'm available, and I'm going to support them to have a positive outcome from their experience with structured water. And so whatever comes up along the way, whatever hurdles there are, I've talked to thousands of people about this, and I'm sure I have some information that'll make a difference. And I will communicate it with love and support people to find a really high-vibrating, wonderful relationship with water.
And I know that you are very, very busy, and I thank you for taking the time out of your day to chat with me and to express this life-changing movement about water. Thank you so much, Patrick. You're just a gem.